Have you ever felt like you were completely stuck? Like no matter what you do, nothing changes.
Like you're totally trapped.
Right. It's a common human experience, but in psychology, there's actually a term for it.
Oh, yeah. What's it called?
It's called learned helplessness.
Yeah.
It's basically the idea that because you failed in the past, well, you're going to be powerless to change anything in the future, too.
Ah, I see. So like those past failures, they make you feel helpless.
Exactly. And so for this deep dive, we're going to explore how to break free from that feeling of being stuck or trapped.
Okay, so where are we gonna look for these answers?
Well, we've got some really fascinating source material for this one. We're going to be looking at a story of faith, and we'll also be drawing on some insights from psychology.
That sounds like a really cool combination.
It is. And what we're going to try to do is see how these different perspectives come together and offer ways to overcome that feeling of helplessness. Like how can we actually move that metaphorical rock that's blocking our path?
Makes sense. So, should we just jump right into that story?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so this story is a hadith,
Which is?
a narration, a story about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Okay.
And in this particular hadith, three travelers find themselves in a pretty tricky situation.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
All right, so imagine this. Three guys are caught in a massive storm, right? So they decide to seek shelter in a cave.
Seems reasonable enough.
Yeah, totally. But here's the catch. While they're inside, a huge rock slide happens, blocking the entrance to the cave.
Oh, no. So now they're trapped.
Exactly. Talk about a feeling of helplessness. They're completely sealed in. No way out. It seems like the end of the line for them. But what's really fascinating is how they react to this impossible situation.
Okay, so what do they do? I mean, I'd probably be freaking out.
Understandable. But these guys, they don't panic. Instead, each of them turns to Allah in prayer.
Interesting.
Yeah. And each of them starts reflecting on a significant good deed from their past, something they did purely for the sake of good.
So they're focusing on their past good actions instead of their current predicament.
Exactly. It's like they're trying to remind themselves of their own goodness in the face of this really dire situation.
I like that, focusing on the positive. So tell me about these good deeds. What did they do?
So the first guy, he talks about how he always prioritized honoring his elderly parents. He put their needs above everything else.
That's beautiful. What about the second guy?
The second man, well, he describes this time when he was faced with a really strong temptation. Like he had the opportunity to do something wrong and he had the power to get away with it, but he resisted. He chose to do the right thing.
Wow, that takes real strength of character.
It does. And then the third guy, he shares how he's always been completely honest in his business dealings, like totally transparent and ethical.
So each of them is reflecting on a moment of real integrity.
Yes. And it's important to know what they're not doing. They're not dwelling on their current crisis or beating themselves up over past mistakes. They're actively choosing to remember times when they were their best selves.
Powerful. Okay, so they're reflecting on these good deeds. They're praying. What happens next?
So as each man recounts his good deed and prays for deliverance, something incredible happens.
Don't tell me the rock starts to move.
It does. With each story, the massive rock blocking the cave entrance shifts just a little bit.
No way.
It's like their sincere prayers and their remembrance of those good deeds are actually causing a physical change in their reality. And this, of course, starts to build their hope. If the rock can move a little, maybe it can move enough for them to escape.
I bet. So does it. Do they get out?
They do. Finally, after the third man shares his story and prays, the rock moves enough for them to escape the cave.
What an incredible story.
It is. And the story, it really speaks to the power of hope and resilience, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges.
Absolutely. But it also ties in really well with the psychology of learned helplessness.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, think about it. These men, they're facing a situation of utter confinement. They could have easily given in to despair and hopelessness.
True, but they didn't.
Right. And I think the key is that they chose to focus on those past good deeds. Those memories acted like these powerful reminders that they were capable of positive action, that they had inherent worth.
That's a really good point. And it actually aligns perfectly with what we see in psychology. Resilient people, they often counter feelings of helplessness by consciously recalling past successes.
It's like giving yourself evidence that you're not powerless.
Exactly. Even small victories can be helpful reminders that you have the ability to make a difference, that you have agency.
So remembering past successes can help to combat that feeling of being stuck.
Yeah. Because those past successes, they demonstrate that you're not just a passive recipient of circumstances, you actually have the ability to influence events.
I like that. And what's really interesting to me is how recalling those good deeds in the hadith, it serves a similar psychological function.
Right. It shifts their focus from the overwhelming problem to their own demonstrated capacity for good. And there's actually some really cool research in psychology that suggests that remembering actions driven by intrinsic motivation and a sense of purpose are especially powerful for rebuilding a sense of agency.
Oh, that's so interesting. And, the deeds in the hadith, honoring parents, resisting temptation for a higher principle, upholding honesty, they all align with those intrinsic values.
Absolutely. It's like those past actions become these anchors, reminding them of their inner strength and their ability to make good choices.
It makes me think about how both faith and practices like mindfulness, they both encourage us to focus on the present moment or on the positive aspects of our lives.
That's a great connection because both faith and mindfulness, they cultivate inner resourcefulness. They help you tap into your own inner strength.
It's almost like remembering good deeds and connecting with your faith. It could
Mhm.
provide that same sense of grounding that you get from mindfulness practices.
I agree. And from a psychological perspective, this act of remembering positive deeds, it can be seen as a form of cognitive restructuring,
Meaning,
meaning you're challenging those negative beliefs that are associated with learned helplessness. You're essentially bolstering your self-efficacy, your belief in your own ability to succeed.
so basically the hadith and psychology, they're both pointing to this idea that helplessness is not necessarily an objective reality, it's more a state of mind.
Exactly. It's not a fixed trait. It's something that can be changed.
And like that rock in the story, the feeling of being trapped can be moved.
Precisely. It might take effort, it might take time, but it's possible.
So what's the takeaway here for our listeners? What can they do to start moving their own metaphorical rocks?
I think a good starting point is to shift your attention away from feeling stuck and towards evidence of your past capabilities and positive actions. Remember those times when you overcame a challenge or when you acted in a way that you were proud of? Even small victories can be really powerful.
That's a great suggestion. As you're listening, take a moment to think back to a time, even a small one, where you faced a challenge and you came out on top. How does recalling that moment shift your perspective on whatever you're facing now?
Yeah, it's amazing how remembering those moments of strength and resilience can help to reframe your current challenges.
It really seems like remembering our strengths, whether through faith or a psychological lens, is a crucial part of building resilience. It reminds us that the possibility of change always exists. So I'll leave you with this. What small victories can you recall today to help you reshape your current challenges?